Good morning. Rabbi Zakai mentioned a few days ago that really the last Perek of Pirkei Avos is not part of Mishnah's Pirkei Avos, but they added on because they wanted to finish until Shavuos. So they added on a few brises so that we should finish right before Shavuos. That means if today is 2 days before Shavuos, we should really learn the second to the last Mishnah in Pirkei Avos because it's right before Shavuos. We have to get ready. Mishnah says, Omer Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma, Pam achas ha'isi mahalach b'derech. I was once walking in a way, on my way, and somebody bumped into me. And he said to me, Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi. And I said back to him, Shalom Aleichem. So he said to him, Rabbi, where do you live? So he says, I live in a city with great Talmidei Chachamim, with a lot of Torah, with a lot of yeshivas, with a lot of tzaddikim. So the man says, Rebbe, I'm going to give you 1,000,000 dinei zov. I'm going to give you tons and tons of money, kesef, zov, precious stones. Come live with me. Come live in my city. So Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma answers him, I don't care if you give me all the money in the world. I'm only going to live in a city of Torah, and I'm not coming to your city. My friend Rabbi Yanofsky, who wrote a sefer on Pirkei Avos, asks an interesting question. He says in his sefer, how did Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma know that this man didn't come from a city that also had Torah? They didn't discuss it. He just said, where do you live? I live in a city of Torah. He says, I'll give you all the money. Come to my city. Maybe his city also has a lot of Torah. Maybe his city also has a lot of yeshivas and Talmidei Chachamim and tzaddikim. The Mishnah doesn't say that he didn't have that. So he said a very interesting thing. He says, because the first thing that he answered him was, I'll give you all the money in the world. A person whose priorities are only money, all they care about is money and mundane things, obviously he doesn't come from a place of Torah. He said over a story that Klei Chemda, who was one of the great Rabbanim pre-war in Poland, he was a genius, he was a tremendous Ilui. He was also extremely poor, and he had a large family. And many cities sent him letters inviting him to become the Rav of his city. And any time the letter said something about money, that was the first thing that they mentioned, the Klei Chemda didn't consider the job. I had once a story. I was traveling one summer. I spent the summer in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And Harrisburg, Pennsylvania is the capital of Pennsylvania. Right across the street from the capital, like a block away, there's a huge shul called Knesset Yisrael. At one point, there was a very large kehillah. And I come into the shul, big, huge old building, and there's a massive plaque in the front lobby. Thanking the Rav who served as a Rav 50 years ago, 50 years before that, who was there for about 13, 14 months. Who was that Rav? That Rav was Rabbi Silva. Rabbi Silva was one of the biggest Rabbanim in America at the time during the war. And everybody knows Rabbi Silva was a big genius and an Eloi, and he did so many things for the Varatzal to save Jews. He went to Poland to save the Yidden from the DP camps. My father was zeichet to be mishamishim and laid it on in his life when he was much older. But everybody knows that Rabbi Silva was the Rav in Cincinnati, Ohio. I never knew that Rabbi Silva spent 14 months in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So it was very interesting. If he was in Harrisburg, why did he leave? So I asked a whole bunch of people in the community, what happened? Nobody wanted to tell me the story. They went like this. So finally, one Yid, I go over to him and said, tell me, what was the story? The Rabbi Silva was the Rav in Harrisburg and he left? He went to Cincinnati? He said, well, it was not such a nice story. I said, what happened? So he says, one night, Rabbi Silva was in his office in the shul, and he was learning late at night, and one of the balabatim, one of the people of the community were passing by, and they see the light on in the shul. So they go into the shul, and they see Rabbi Silva sitting and learning in his study with a little bulb hanging down over his desk, nothing fancy, and he said, Rebbe, and who's paying for electricity? This is after hours. This is not the rabbi's hours. Rabbi, you finished working. Who's paying for the electricity? And the next morning, after davening, Rabbi Silva gave a clap on the bima, and he got up and he said, thank you very much. It's a pleasure knowing you. It was a pleasure being here. Have a wonderful life. And he left the shul. And he left the community. He said a community that does not have appreciation that a Rav should be sitting and learning Torah at night and doesn't even want to pay for the lousy electricity, that's what they worry about, the few pennies. That's a community like that I don't want to be a part of. When people are getting ready, we're getting ready for Shavuos, we have to realize what our priorities in life are. If all we're concerned about is Olam Hazeh and money and this, that's not going to make it. That's not going to do it for us. We have to have a priority. We have to live in a place of Torah. We have to be connected to Talmidei Chachamim, to yeshivas, to tzaddikim. That is what is going to bring us, ultimately, as the Mishnah ends off and says, because when it comes after 120 years, when you're going to come up to Shemayim and they're going to say to you, they're going to ask you, did you learn Torah or were you honest in business? They're not going to say, they're going to stand there in front of the scale and they're going to start putting your mitzvahs and ma'asim tovim and the scale is not going to go over. And they look at you and they say, just ain't breaking. Wait, don't worry, I have in my house, I have gold and silver and coins and diamonds and everything. Let's put it on the scale to help. It doesn't work that way. What matters only is what a person does in this world with God, with Torah and mitzvahs and good deeds and midos tovos, and that's the way a yid gets ready to be makabel Torah. And you should all be zeicha to have success in your Torah and your avodah. Have a wonderful day.